From beautiful Brooklyn, New York, it's USL Super League action on Peacock tonight. An all-important game between Mackenzie George and Brooklyn, playing for their playoff lives down the stretch of this inaugural Super League season, hoping to get past a very, very strong DC Power, hoping to get back on the right track themselves, led by Madison Wolfbauer. Kickoff from the Big Apple is coming up. From Coney Island and Maimonides Park in beautiful Brooklyn, New York, it's the USL Super League on Peacock in this all-important game with playoff implications written all over it, particularly for Brooklyn FC, the hosts welcoming DC Power. Sean St. Jacques, Gary Bailey, your entire crew, happy to have you with us. Very important game for the hosts if they're going to end up making the playoffs in the USL Super League this season. And Gary, it's been a tale of really two halves of this Super League season for Brooklyn. So good early on, but they've fallen off ever since.
Brilliant goals being scored regularly, but they've gone from best defense to worst, from a great attack to one that can hardly score, from 6 wins in a row leading up to the end of the fall season to no wins in 10. I mean, try and explain that. Conceding goals they would never have conceded earlier in the season.
And now they're on the outside looking in for the final playoff spot in the USL Super League, but there's still time for Brooklyn to finish the season strong. But again, deeper dive into the fall season versus the spring season. It's Jekyll and Hyde.
I've never seen a team implode this badly as Brooklyn have done, and I can't figure out why. Everything from goals scored, it's the opposite. Goals conceded, it's the opposite. Everything has gone bad for them, but there's still time for them to turn it back to the good old days.
We'll just have to see if they can get the win tonight. That's going to be really, really key. And one of the players that could be important in getting the win, Luana Gravias.
Yeah, crucial goal against Lexington to get that draw. And early on in the season, she was scoring some really good goals. 9th in the league for goals, 6th in the league for shots. She was a top scorer in the team. Nice nutmeg. You can see the class and confidence she had early in the season. Can she find that confidence once again?
Got the goal against Lexington in a 1-1 draw last time out. And, well, for DC, 9 in a row without a win, and they came close against Tampa Bay, but the sun edged it late.
Cecile flew there with a great chest and volley, but it's saved onto the post by Aquino, and it just bends in. That was absolute heartbreak from a decent performance by DC Power to lose it in the 88th minute.
On DC Power again, hoping to finally get their first win of the spring season. They're hoping that Gianna Gorley will be a big part of their success tonight.
Yeah, 4 goals is a nice little score there from inside the box against Fort Lauderdale United. She's the top scorer for the team, 11th in the league in goals. That one well taken early on to chip the goalkeeper. She's got pace and she's got great finishing ability.
Well, we know that DC, because of that Tampa Bay result, are eliminated from playoff contention, but they want to finish this season on a high note. And for Brooklyn, all is not lost yet. A win today could put them right back on track for making the playoffs, despite all of the loop-de-loops they've gone through this season. Kickoff from the Big Apple on Peacock is coming up after the break.
Hearts. No two beat the same. So we built a team of the best heart surgeons, pioneers of the most modern techniques, who always find the one approach that's best for you. But while each surgery is unique, the outcome is the same: the highest success rates. NYU Langone Health.
We all have goals. But let's be honest, most of us aren't going to be professional athletes. But if your goal is to finish your degree, we can help. Come to a university that puts your goals first. Bellevue University, your partner in finishing goals.
I said what I said. I'd rather be famous this instead.
Welcome back to Brooklyn, everybody. A very important night in the USL Super League, particularly for Brooklyn here at Maimonides Park, playing host to DC Power with their playoff hopes hanging in the balance. Sean St. Jacques, Gary Bailey, our entire crew. Gary, let's jump into the starting lineups. First for Brooklyn, hoping to get their first win of the spring season.
Yeah, 3 changes from the side that drew with Lexington. Nikia Smith is in, Kelsey Hill and Caroline Kelly. To the bench go Tori Hansen, Dana Sheriff, Grace Philpott's not available. And the top goal scorer, Luan Grabias, there will be the main focus of the attack with Mackenzie George, who's had a good start to the season anyway in terms of assists. She'll be out wide.
December 14th, 2024 was the last time Brooklyn won in the Super League. 9 without a win for Phil Nana's DC Power, but they're moving in the right direction.
They certainly are. There's no changes from the team that narrowly lost to Tampa Bay Sun with that 88th-minute goal. So he felt they did well. They had a chance to win it, came extremely close, hence no changes. Katie Duong sitting in that defensive midfield role, and Kurosaki will push up and join Gawley whenever she can.
The tough part for DC Power, and it's really been throughout the entirety of the season, has been scoring goals. 15 of them throughout the season is by far the fewest in the USL Super League. If DC Power are going to play spoiler in the Big Apple tonight, they're going to need to at least push 1 or 2 across. And for Brooklyn, it's not mathematically a must-win, but it might as well be. They haven't won since December 10 without a victory. Who would have thought that back at the beginning and certainly the middle and end of the fall season? But Brooklyn's backs are firmly against the wall here at Maimonides Park tonight. It's essentially a game they cannot lose. Brooklyn kick us off. They're in all black. They're going from left to right here on Peacock, and we are underway. DC are in blue from head to toe, and within 10 seconds, the ball is played out of play on the near side. Brooklyn in possession. Every Super League team in action tonight, so we'll be keeping you up to date on all the other games going on. The one game that is at halftime right now, Spokane leading Tampa Bay by 2-1. So in the live table, Brooklyn actually begin this game in 6th place on goal differential. They entered the night in 5th, and they'd be level on points if Spokane goes on to win that game. And then obviously Brooklyn can still take over 5th spot if they can win this game, of course.
Long gone are those days when they were top of the table or thereabouts. I'm afraid to say now it's all a battle to get into the playoffs. And yet, they're right there. If they can just... You said this isn't a must-win mathematically, 100% correct, but I think it's a must-win psychologically, because if Brooklyn at home cannot beat bottom of the table DC Power, then really are they going to win their remaining 3 matches, which against their rivals in the table. So for me, anyway, this is a must-win for caretaker coach Kevin Tenyo and this Brooklyn side.
Well, again, Phil Nana's side already eliminated from playoff contention after losing to Tampa Bay last time out. But Phil Nana told us they want to get off the bottom of the table. They want to move up as high as they can, get as many points down the stretch, and finish the season on a high note as a shot is blocked away on the edge of the far side of the penalty area. It's moved on to the near side here. Smith moving towards the end line on this near side. Cross is going to be blocked out for a Brooklyn corner inside of the opening 2 minutes.
That's a good positive start for Brooklyn, in particular Nikia Smith on that right-hand side. She's been attacking like a winger, trying to get balls into the box. And this is the sort of start you want, because if they get one Brooklyn, you get the sense they might start to settle down, and then the floodgates could open, and who knows how their season might turn from here.
Feels like Brooklyn had been in pursuit of a big turnaround moment throughout the entirety of the spring season. And from the corner, it's headed away off the edge of the 6-yard box. Brooklyn will regain possession here with Kelly. And it's clipped back into the penalty area right at the goalkeeper, Aquino. There were times during the fall season where not only Brooklyn were top of the table, there was much talk about how Brooklyn were not only the best team, but looking to be by far the best team, looked to run away with the Super League in the regular season, and everything seemingly turned the opposite way. At the start of the spring season, there's been heavy defeats to multiple rivals along the way, and in the 10 games where Brooklyn has not gotten a win, 5 draws, 5 defeats, they've been outscored 22-5 over those 10 games. I don't think anybody saw those kind of numbers coming during the winter break.
Before the winter break, Jess Silver, the coach, got Coach of the Month for December.
Yeah.
They finished the winter break or the fall break with 6 straight wins. So yeah, you're not going to see that coming at all. But since then, you mentioned the big defeats. 6-0 at Dallas Trinity. They got beat 5-0 at Carolina Ascent, 3-0 at home to Dallas. Now, not only are those big defeats, but they didn't score a single goal in those 3 matches. So it makes you think that they've lost confidence, they've lost belief.
Here's a takeaway here for DC. It's on the edge of the far side of the penalty area. Chance to play this across for Gorley, and touched out of harm's way by Allison Pantuso.
It's another little error. They start so well, they look so good, and they make an error and nearly get punished in defense there, Brooklyn. So they've got to find a way to get back onto winning terms, and the best way is with a good win. And once again, this is set up for them against the bottom of the table side, the lowest goal scorers in the league. This must be their day to get a decent win. If they don't, then you have to start thinking that maybe they will not make the playoffs at all, which, going back to December again, if you'd have said that, people would have laughed at you.
Including tonight, 3 of the last 4 games for Brooklyn are at home. That's the good news. But like you mentioned, Gary, after tonight, every team they play is either above the playoff line or right there. So it's all 6-pointers the rest of the way for Brooklyn. If they cannot get all 3 points tonight, they'd be firmly behind the 8 ball. It's a decent step to move it forward by Hope Breslin, but it's going to be shepherded out for a DC throw-in on the far side.
If we look at DC and what they have to do, and chatting to Phil Nana, he's looking for his first win in 10th game as interim coach, so he's desperate for a win. And the team has set themselves a target of not being bottom, which means they want to finish above Lexington. And again, they'll need to pick up points to do that, you would think. So important for them. They have a goal, not as lofty as Brooklyn's perhaps, but for Phil Nana individually, he desperately wants a win. Nobody wants to finish off a campaign without having a single win behind their name. So they'll be well motivated here today, you would think, with DC power.
And DC's last win was actually a really impressive one, a 1-0 win at Fort Lauderdale United back in late November of the fall season. They've been able to pick up some points during this tough 9-game winless run, but 6 out of 10 have been defeats, just the 3 draws in there. And they were actually outscored 16-8, doubled up during that 9-game winless run that enters into tonight's proceedings. But to be fair to DC, that's been a struggle all season. They just have not been able to get enough goals, and they have 9 fewer than everybody else in the Super League. And Brooklyn are actually the 2nd fewest with 24 goals this season coming in to tonight. Most of those, of course, coming during the fall season.
And DC Power just 3 wins from 22 matches. That's not good reading as that long shot.
Oh, it's off the bar. Long distance shot was nearly misread by Purcell. And the frame initially helps out Brooklyn. Then a spinning shot on the follow-up is blazed wide. Brooklyn nearly caught out.
That's a decent effort coming in from Katrina Guiu. And you're right with Nico Purcell. She's running backwards. She's lost track of where that's going, because normally as a keeper you would dive back and stretch and aim to tip that over. And it was past her, and if that had been a couple of inches lower, that's in the back of the net. So once again, DC Power don't have the control of the game the way Brooklyn have had in these first few minutes, but they've had 2 little half chances already.
That moment is also a great reminder of something that Phil Nana told us this week, which is that he wants his team to get a little bit more luck in some of these games. Another moment where it just didn't quite bounce DC's way. And Brooklyn catch a huge early break. That's a giveaway. Good step by Anna Bagley, and it's played further up ahead by Duong, but Brooklyn get back on top of it on the edge of their own penalty area. And then miscommunication as the ball rolls past, rolled behind in the end of the captain, Kelsey Hill, who was not ready for it. And Purcell luckily had her head on a swivel. Another moment where Brooklyn just not quite on the same page at the back. And as soon as I say that, they give the ball away again. It's looped into the penalty area. Purcell ready for it in pursuit.
Well, maybe this game will be a lot closer than a lot of Brooklyn fans probably thought it would be. Something else to mention about DC Power is in the last 5 games, they've only conceded no more than 1 goal. Now, before that, they were conceding 3s and 2s, and they were having a tough time of it, but they've been very tight defensively last 5 games.
Brooklyn up the other end, have numbers in the penalty area, but Bagley steps in there in time for DC to cut out the feed. Nakia Smith made a good run, but the ball was behind her. And Brooklyn will recycle the possession with Breslin.
Just to add a bit more to that point, last 5 games for DC Power, they've conceded 1 goal in each game. No more than that. Now, to your point, they haven't scored that many either. In only 2 of those games have they scored, so they've lost 3 by 1 goal to nil and drawn 2 1-1. But they don't give much away now, and that's something that Phil Nana has done really well, tightened up that DC Power defense. Now, the question is, can they get one in the back of the net and start scoring goals?
And Phil Nana gave us a great analogy about DC at the moment. He said, we're like a piñata. We just have to keep banging on it, and eventually it's going to break open and all the candy's going to fall out. And particularly with the attacking side of the game for DC, that's a really, really good analogy.
Well, they would probably look at Brooklyn. I've been describing how Brooklyn look at DC Power and think this is our chance to get a win and turn things around. But DC Power could be looking at Brooklyn and thinking, hey, we're playing probably the most out-of-form team at the moment. It's a chance for us to get a win, go above Lexington, and start getting some confidence going.
Again, of course, Brooklyn going through the coaching change as Gorley slithered her way towards the edge of the penalty area, won the ball back, and was able to test Purcell. The goalkeeper makes a comfortable stop.
Decent strike at the goalkeeper. If it's either side, maybe Purcell has to really stretch, but at the goalkeeper, so it's a fairly comfortable save. But once again, after a first 5 minutes where Brooklyn's come out firing, it's DC Power who seem to have got more of a grip on the game and really sort of asking questions of the Brooklyn defense and their keeper, Nico Purcell.
Pantuso will let it roll out of play for a Brooklyn throw. And then under pressure, Kroger did just about enough to find Garziano, who then got dispossessed. Kroger follows up. More good DC pressure, and it bounces back to Purcell in the middle of the Brooklyn penalty area. Again, Jess Silva was relieved of her duties for Brooklyn now 11 days ago, April 15th. Then, of course, Brooklyn got the point against Lexington just 4 days later here. Rabias's goal on the hour ended up helping to get a 1-1 draw. But again, at this point in the season, certainly other teams around the league will have looked at that are fighting to get Brooklyn away from that final playoff spot. Will have thought that's a big deal. Chance to make up some points there. Spokane in particular. We're still trying to catch Brooklyn. And it applies to this game as well. A point. Again, it helps a little bit, but Brooklyn really need 3 if they're going to keep pace. And DC get a shot away on the edge of the penalty area, well blocked. Can Brooklyn counterattack on this near side? DC trying to get some numbers back. Smith makes a good run and moves it down this near sideline. She stood up, too many blue shirts in the way, little give and go to try to get it back to Smith, and DC will clear it out for a throw. referee is Joshua Encarnacion. As Brooklyn have a throw-in right in front of their technical area on the near side. Smith loops it over the top. Bit of a miscued clearance. Grabias with 2 players on her is able to come out with possession to keep Brooklyn with it for now. It's helped along onto the far side by Hill. And then it's served into the penalty area where there was no one there in a black shirt. Easy for Aquino.
I haven't seen much of Grabias in this match, and the reason why I mentioned not only is she the top goal scorer for the team, but when they met back in November, she got a hat-trick against DC Power. Brilliant game that she played, some wonderful finishing. So, you know, some people believe in the psychology of there's good teams to play against, and she must look at this fixture and go, wow, do I love playing against DC Power? And yet she hasn't been able to get into the game. They haven't been able to find her with passes here. She is chasing back, trying to help out defensively, but they need her up in attack to cause problems.
Trying to play an early ball in behind. DC again have it well covered onto this near side. Mernon resets for the Power. It's played into the Brooklyn half. It's actually nudged down nicely for Kurosaki. Tried a little give and go. Kroger steps in for Brooklyn, but then she's dispossessed. Constant clipped it forward. DC will still be able to pick it back up for a reset. Near side Bagley. Loses out to Smith. Grabias can move Brooklyn ahead. Playing it in behind, there wasn't quite enough on it, but it's still on here for Kelly. Her shot takes a big deflection. It's gonna bounce out. Looks like for a goal kick. At least that was the initial indication. And now it looks like the offside flag is going to go up.
Caroline Kelly in an offside position, but when Grabias just turned there, I thought she could have played the ball through. She played it behind Kelly. And Kelly's job, of course, because she can see the entire defense, is to keep herself onside. So important for her to focus on that in future. So if the ball is played through, and then at least she has a chance to score.
Garziano leads the press for Brooklyn and ends up forcing it out for a throw. Nudged over the top of Kroger. Near side, Anna Bagley. Let's play back to the edge of the DC penalty area. Trying to deal with the Brooklyn pressure here. Garziano again involved. So is Kelly. And DC just get it past that wave, and they clip it over the top. No avail on the initial ball in behind. Brooklyn back defensively. That's maybe the most surprising twist of fate for Brooklyn this season. They weren't always this juggernaut of a scoring team, but they were by far the best defensive team in the first half of this season. That's been what's really taken a turn for the worst. So many teams struggled to score against this Brooklyn side, particularly at home when they were playing earlier this season at Columbia University. Just has not been the same, not by a long shot, in the spring season.
Well, we've seen it already. This is a team that's bottom of the table, DC Power, and yet they've looked really sharp in attack. They've hit the crossbar. They've had one or two little half chances, and you know, perhaps a touch unlucky not to have maybe scored. So clearly not as tight as they used to be, are Brooklyn.
Well, Bagley went down, although wasn't looking for a foul. At least she wasn't. Got right back up. Osaki plays it. DeWong clipping it into the penalty area here. Versal is able to grab it in traffic.
Good goalkeeping, confident, comes and takes that cross without too much trouble. That's nice for Nico Purcell, just calms things down, gives her a little bit of confidence, nice and early on in the game.
Garziano swarmed. And it is going to stay with Brooklyn off a DC ricochet. We'll get a throw in just to the left of the halfway line. Thrown down the line for Kelly and company. Brooklyn will get another throw.
Interesting, these new arrivals. Caroline Kelly just in her second match, Nikia Smith in her third game. Players have been brought in to try and turn this Brooklyn team around, and they both look very sharp, very quick players.
It's lovely skill here, but DC still force it back. Kroger out to the far side. Scarpelli was trying to do a little give and go there, and then Kelly tried to come back and help. In the end, DC will reset. Duong stepped in. Now Duong picks her head up, plays it out to the far side. On the turn, on the far side, Colton closed down. DC throw. Still 2-1 Spokane over Tampa Bay in the other live game going on in the Super League at the moment. Aquino is able to get it clear. DC still trying to move it towards the halfway line. Kurosaki out wide. That's a good step defensively by Mackenzie George. And George tried to play an early ball for Kelly. It was cut out. Madison Wolfbauer, who we highlighted earlier, has been a big reason why DC's defensive side of things has improved over these last few weeks. Clearance had a little bit of a deflection on it. Kurosaki forces Bagley back to get it. Kurosaki again wins a throw-in after a good step by Pantuso. Then one back by Hope Breslin, only for a moment. Duong. Early ball over the top for Gianna Gorley. 4 goals in the Super League this season. It's a good ball across, maybe too much on it in the end. And it's going to roll out of play. I'll enter the Win the Brinks Tires Tailgate Kit Sweepstakes for a chance to win a prize pack worth up to $3,000. Scan the QR code on the screen to enter today.
Just going back to that chance there, Gianna Gorley doing so well down that left-hand side, but as you said, overhits the cross. There were 2 bodies in blue in the box. Could I pick one of them out or get it close to them? And she, unfortunately, for DC Power, overhits it.
And Kurosaki then wins a free kick for DC in a pretty good position for the visitors.
Be careful when tackling behind, of course. You make any contact with the opponent, the referee's likely to give the free kick. And you don't want to be giving away free kicks in that sort of area. It's quite far out for a shot, not impossible, but unlikely, but it's a good opportunity to whip one into the box for a header.
Looks like Duong will stand over it. Does have 3 goal contributions this season, a goal and 2 assists. She hits it just to the left of the wall. That came off the back of Gravias. It's popped up into the air, into the penalty area, and then a heavy challenge comes in. Free kick for Brooklyn. And Encarnacion will have a word here after the heavy collision.
Katie Duong going for power and trying to break it through the wall and maybe just slightly around. A difficult one to do, especially from that far out. Thought the better percentage chance was to chip it into the box. Had a lot of tall players in there waiting, and in fact the Lexington goal in the last Brooklyn match came from a free kick not being cleared, so having done their homework they would have seen that, and it was worth a try, but they'll have other chances no doubt, so maybe next time they'll go for the cross into the box instead.
Feels like a time in the match to test Brooklyn's defense as well. They've had a couple of nervy moments at the start of this game, particularly in the first 10-15 minutes. Ooh, and Aquino came well off her line. She did end up getting there, but the referee saw something else in there and blew the whistle. Actually, he's going to bring it all the way back. And it's going to be a free kick for Brooklyn to restart the play after all that. Kevin Tenyo and the Brooklyn staff were a bit perplexed over all of that.
Yeah, I think they were hoping for an advantage to play on because the ball into the middle was causing some problems. But the referee, they could only allow advantage for so long, and the referee decided to blow his whistle fairly quickly, and that's just the way it goes. Now, possession lost again. Katrina Giu winning it in midfield. After the first 5 positive minutes for Brooklyn, they've given a lot of turnover ball around the edge of their box, way too much for a home side, and a home side who wants to make the playoffs, and a home side who's playing the bottom team. So once again, we're into that territory of just Brooklyn not looking like the side they used to be.
DeWong will try again. This one definitely has service written all over it, although it's going to be played square onto this near side. Little give and go back to DeWong. Tries to maneuver and cut out some space. She's blocked. It's on the edge of the penalty area here. Brooklyn still have some work to do before it's definitively cleared. Gorley on the turn, blocked again. Only as far as Bagley. DeWong clipping it into the penalty area. Brooklyn still have to get rid of it. Kelly, back helping out defensively, does clear it into the middle of the end. Clip back into the penalty area. Purcell didn't quite deal with it, but there's a foul involved. And before the volley came in from Kurosaki, the whistle gives Brooklyn a free kick.
It seemed like Purcell ran into one of the DC power players. If she'd have gone into her own player, well, in fact, on second thoughts, it looks more like she goes into her own player. Have a look at this. Or maybe there's just some contact from Gianna Gorley there on the back of Purcell. But the theory is that if you run into your own player, of course, then it's not a free kick, but the referee just seeing enough contact there from Gorley to give Purcell the free kick in this case. It's going back to the free kick. Again, a chance to put a ball into the box, test the defense, and instead they're trying to get cute with a little short one and move it around, and eventually opportunity is completely lost.
Especially in a moment of the game where DC have been more on top of it, then Brooklyn certainly looked the more likely to find the breakthrough, particularly over these last 10 minutes or so. Again, this game critically important for Brooklyn and their playoff hopes. They came into the night in 5th place in the live table. They're currently in 6th position because Spokane are leading Tampa Bay as we speak by 2-1 in the other game going on in the Super League live at the moment. They're also both teams, Spokane and Brooklyn, in the live table, tied with Fort Lauderdale, who play later on tonight against Carolina Ascent, who actually could clinch a playoff spot if some of the results go their way. If Carolina just wins, of course, that'll be that. The Ascent will be the first Super League team ever to clinch a playoff spot. They could also get in, though, a couple other scenarios, even if they draw or they lose tonight, and that's where Brooklyn plays a bit of a part in that. DC could actually do Carolina quite the favor if they could get a draw or beat Brooklyn in this game tonight. A DC win or draw opens up the door for a Carolina draw to help them get in. A DC win, of course, could actually mean that if results go elsewhere with Tampa Bay potentially winning, although they're trailing at the moment, and Fort Lauderdale, on top of that, beating Carolina, all that could actually still allow Carolina to get in. So we'll have to see. Again, DC would have to do them a favor. Tampa Bay would have to come back and do them a favor as well against Spokane. All of that, of course, would be a moot point if Carolina wins. And DC look to take the lead here. Huge block on the edge of the 6. Back into the middle by Bagley and cleared away. Another close call for the visitors. Brooklyn doing just about enough.
DC Power knocking on the door, certainly asking a lot of questions and having little half chances. And not much coming the other way. Gravius just really hasn't got much on the front foot and losing possession too often. Again,
Brooklyn a little sloppy there defensively, but they do get it to the halfway line. And little bit of a loose touch on this near side by Smith, and DC win the ball back. Guiu. It's up, retreating ever so slightly.
And the further problem Brooklyn have, and I think you mentioned it at the very beginning, they've played more games, 2 more games than Dallas Trinity, 1 more than those around them.
Long distance shot here, Garciano, well wide.
So that clock's ticking time-wise. 3 matches after this, you start running out of games in which to get yourself a playoff spot. So again, comes back to that same point. This is a must-win match as far as I see it. If they don't and the other teams around them win, then they'll literally have to win all 3 of their last games against rivals around them, which, given the way they're playing, would be a massive ask.
And on this far side, Brooklyn are going to run out of room. Well defended by DC. And it's going to be a goal kick. Of course, interested in catching Brooklyn FC in action live at Maimonides Park. Scan the QR code on the screen for a chance to win 4 free tickets to Brooklyn's next home match against Spokane Zephyr on Saturday, May 10th. See you in Coney Island. Again, Spokane are one of those teams right on the heels of Brooklyn. Really, regardless of the results tonight, but particularly if Spokane holds on to their current 2-1 lead over Tampa Bay. About 20 minutes to go in that game. DC go to Fort Lauderdale next. Beg your pardon, Brooklyn go to Fort Lauderdale next. As Bagley plays that into the middle, was helped across, but Brooklyn again clear it. Only as far as Guiu. Back to the edge of the penalty area, Colton out wide. And then a long distance shot. He's gonna go wide. Actually closer to finding Bagley than anything else. It's a goal kick.
Well, this is a really good first 30 minutes from DC Power. And you have to go back to the last game for Brooklyn. They took on Lexington, who are right next to DC Power at the foot of the table, and had an XG of 3.28, Brooklyn. They had a lot of chances, 11 shots on target to just 1 for Lexington. And this was, on top of that, there were touches in the box where they hardly allowed the opposition a touch in the box. Yes, they conceded, which again has been the story, but they were very good is what I'm trying to say, trying to give you all the stats. I haven't seen that from them other than the first 5 minutes here. So it's not even the team that drew against Lexington that we're seeing.
Brooklyn with a really big chance here. Garciano, Grabias, and again blocked off the line. Aquino made the save, and then a critical defensive intervention thwarts Brooklyn off the goal line. Ball still in play on this near side. Smith in pursuit. And it goes out for a goal kick after a golden chance for Brooklyn.
Just as we were saying, they're not creating chances, they create the best chance of all. Lovely little bit of play here. Ball gets knocked wide from Garciano. The first shot is straight at the goalkeeper. The second is a whiff. Neither of those up to her normal standard. The first one for me, once Garciano puts it through, try and get it wide of the goalkeeper, but assuming the first one is not a bad effort because it's got power, the second one totally mishits it. That's not the Grabias that we saw in the build-up to the show, scoring goals for fun, scoring a hat-trick against the same side back in November.
We said earlier that the crossbar bailed out Brooklyn. Well, DC let off the hook at the other end. Bagley, tried to help it along, and then miscommunication there allows Brooklyn to get back onto it. Grabias with a good first touch, not on the same page with Kelly. Now another early ball played in behind, but again, Kelsey Hill, uncontested, is going to get back onto it for Brooklyn. 13 minutes in stoppage time to go in the half. Both teams now have come within a whisker of opening the scoring here. It's going to bounce out of play. It's going to be a Brooklyn throw-in for Smith. Kurosaki for DC. Lovely touch in behind here by Colton. Gorley tried to get it back to Colton, but it was cut out.
It was a lovely idea. They were trying to do the 1-2, and it nearly came off there. Gianna Gorley just thinking extremely quickly, and just caught the defender's foot on the way through. But nice interplay from DC Power again. Their position in the table belies the fact that this is a much improved team in the last 5 games. As Phil Nano was saying to us, that defensively they've been super tight. They've looked really good. And against Tampa Bay, just going down to that goal in the 88th minute. How tough was that?
Select is the official match ball supplier of the USL Super League and many elite leagues throughout Europe. Visit us.select-sport.com for the latest Select product specials and more. Select, the player's choice. Breslin. It's cleared down that far sideline. Kelly tried to flick it for George, and it was cut out. Kelly still in pursuit. DC under a bit of pressure here. Going to use Aquino. And Aquino has time to survey the scene. Although it's given away to Kroger. His first touch wasn't the best, and Kurosaki sweeps it away. More Brooklyn pressure for DC to have to play through here. And they just about get it out of harm's way. Kurosaki sprinting ahead for DC Power. Trying to thread the needle for Colton. And she never really got a touch on it.
Good numbers going through. Once they played through the press, DC Power able to run at the defense. The defenders coming back were a little bit slow. Kurosaki's got time there to try and pick the pass, and in the end, doesn't quite get that pass through. But good numbers up in attack. I think Phil Nano will be quietly thinking to himself, you know what, maybe this is the day we get our first win in what is now 10th match in charge.
DC Power back on the prowl here. Duwong onto this near side for Mernon. Constant. Held up in the end by Gorley. Wolfbauer. Time and space for Guiu. For Duwong. Duwong up ahead for Colton. Colton can size up the shot, but it is sent out of play.
Emily Colton's been a recent addition. This is just her 8th match for the team. Seems to have made a positive impact on that right-hand side, but that shot clearly not one of her best. Long way out, but completely off target.
Kurosaki dispossessed at the vital moment, and Brooklyn clears. Guiu. Kurosaki. Slipped through by Colton for Gorley! And Gianna Gorley scores for DC! Nothing less than they deserve. DC Power have the lead in the Big Apple. It could be a hammer blow to Brooklyn's playoff hopes, but DC have looked the more likely for a vast majority of the half, and Gianna Gorley has her 5th Super League goal of the season.
It's a good finish. It's a lovely ball through. It's a toe poke of a finish. Doesn't give Purcell much chance to react, but they have been looking much better. They have been playing well, and they've been looking to get that ball through, and eventually they found the perfect ball. It's a great finish. Very difficult as a keeper when someone toe pokes it like that, and Gianna Gorley there just gets it absolutely perfectly in terms of direction, in terms of finish, and gives them what we all believe is a well-deserved lead.
just felt like it was only a matter of time for DC. And whenever they've been able to get a goal, Gianna Gorley's been involved in some way, shape, or form. And most of the time, it's been finishing it off, just like she did a moment ago. And Brooklyn are in big, big trouble. Free kick for Brooklyn, and I can also tell you that in the middle of all those DC celebrations, Spokane have scored a third goal against Tampa Bay. So they're 3-1 up as the offside flag's gonna go up here against the hosts.
You have to start wondering right now what Kevin Tenyo, the caretaker coach for Brooklyn, is going to do at halftime, because they've been outplayed. Other than the first 5 minutes, the DC Power looked like they're the home side. They look like they're the side is battling to make the playoffs. They've been crisper, they've been better, they've had more chances, they've hit the crossbar. They really have looked supremely good. Although, to be fair, Grabias did have one great chance, but other than that, it's been DC Power's match. So what do you do as a coach to turn things around second half? Do you bring on some subs at halftime or early second half? Do you change the tactics at all? That'll be what's going through Kevin Tenyo's mind.
Gorley again was the target on a great ball in behind, but she misses the target this time. It's a goal kick.
Well, Gianna Gorley, that was her second and should have been, and she knows it straight away. She goes misconnected. She's trying to flick it to the post on the left-hand side. To me, she's got to head back the way the ball's coming forward to, or coming from rather, which is the post to her right-hand side. That way you make a better contact. Imagine that, 2-0 up. And it was very much on the cards. Great ball in, great opportunity for Gorley.
This time the flag is going to go up. Offside, Brooklyn, free kick. Hey, look there, DC, when scoring first this season, they tend to get positive results. Unbeaten in 6. And you can see there as well, the contrast of that. Brooklyn have only won once all year. When conceding the first goal, 8 defeats out of 13 when that happens.
And you can add to the fact that the last 5 matches, DC Power have only conceded 1 goal, no more than that. So defensively, they've been very, very tight, which means this is a real mountain to climb. And back to that same question, Kevin Tenyo, what do you do as caretaker coach? How do you turn this around? Because this is a must-win game, and however you spin it, if they only get a draw here, they leave themselves a huge mountain to climb last 3 matches. So he's got to find a way, him and his coaching staff, got to find a way to get Brooklyn back into this match. If it doesn't happen before halftime, he's got to do it early second half.
Kurosaki dispossessed, ooh, and then pulls the shirt back of Smith, and that's got yellow card written all over it.
The sort of yellow card that frustrates coaches, because it's in the opponent's half. There's no benefit really. She's running back to her own goal even. You pick up a yellow now, all you got to do is mistime a tackle, second yellow, you're off. So unnecessary there from Kurosaki.
Gianna Gorley's goal has DC ahead as we approach the halftime interval on Coney Island. There is Gorley. Fights to keep it alive for DC Power, who can move it onto the far sideline for Wolfbauer, who's forced to turn around. Mernon. Oh, it's a miscued touch by Bagley. Garziano tried to shoot. Handball appeals come in, and it is given by the referee. It's a free kick for Brooklyn in a pretty good spot.
It is a good spot. It's a spot where you can either shoot or go for the cross. Shot looks more likely from there. Let's have a look at the build-up. Garziano, so good. So really good early on in the season. Like to see her get back to that level of form. So you're 22 yards plus minus out. You've got a chance here to either aim straight at goal or go over the wall. I think it's worth a dip on goal. And of course, if you do that, then the signal is for the others to follow up on the goalkeeper in case the keeper can't handle it. So that would be I would think, the most likely way this is going to play out.
Rabius and Kroger stand over it. 5 in the DC wall. Can Brooklyn find a late first half lifeline? It's going to be Grabias. And it goes over the top and out of play.
I think some of the crowd thought it went in because you can hear all the cheers, but she goes high, but on the goalkeeper's side of the goal. I mean, normally if you go high, you go over the wall onto the other side. Let's have a look at it again. I'm not quite sure what she's trying to do there. That's the sort of one that you sort of have, you go over the wall. If you're going to go at the keeper, go low. You don't need to go high, you can go low and follow up on it. So a very strange decision there from that free kick.
Interested in catching Brooklyn in action live at Maimonides Park? Scan the QR code for a chance to win 4 free tickets to Brooklyn's next home match Saturday, May 10th against Spokane Zephyr here on Coney Island. Now DC up the other end. Challenge comes in from Scarpelli, and she's going to be booked. DC have a free kick opportunity very quickly up the other end.
Referee was a no doubt at all, and probably a good thing that it happened outside the box. 2 more steps and it would have been inside. Scarpelli beaten for pace there and decided to foul. Now it's the same, exactly same conversation. Well, more or less, it's slightly at a more difficult angle for DC Power, but still the same thing. Do you go over the wall? Or do you go straight for the goalkeeper? Or do you try and cross it? And again, I think the best option is either over the wall or at the keeper. Because you're only more or less 20, 22 yards out, and it's worth a dip of goal from there.
We're into 1 added minute at the end of the half here in Brooklyn. DC trying to double their money in first half stoppage time. Colton stands over it. And Colton, wasn't far away from scoring a magnificent goal.
Decent effort, a yard or so over, and just couldn't quite keep that ball down, but you had power behind it. That's why I say it's worth a shot from there, because if that's on target, if it's a little bit lower, maybe a little bit to the left as we were looking, that's in the top corner. So decent effort there from Emily Colton.
Is there time for maybe one more Brooklyn chance at the end of the half? It's going to be headed down for Constant. Constant again, forced to go back to Aquino. And as Brooklyn tried to put more pressure on at the end of the halftime whistle goes here in Coney Island. Well, DC with a very impressive first 45 minutes. You'd think they were pushing for the playoffs, but it's Brooklyn in need of a victory here. And they are trailing by a Gianna Gorley goal to nil. But still a big 45 minutes left to go. Still, of course, time for Brooklyn to turn this around, but DC were very, very good in these first 45 minutes. It's continued what's been a positive turnaround in recent weeks for Phil Nana's group. Well, Gianna Gorley, kind enough to give us a few moments here at the half, scoring her 5th Super League goal of the season. Gianna, thanks so much for taking a few moments. Can you take us through what was a really well-taken finish?
Yeah, I mean, we had a great chemistry. We were just bumping it back and forth, and just great movement off each other. I think you could played it back to M, and then M just slipped me through, and it was an easy finish. So props to them. I mean, it was great team play.
Yeah, Jenna, good first half. What do you have to do second half to ensure you leave with all 3 points?
Yeah, I think finishing our chances, I mean, I missed 2, and I think we missed a few other ones. So just putting the ball in the back of the net, we've had a lot of chances, and I think that will get us the dub and, yeah, get us 3 points.
Gianna, thanks so much for your time, and best of luck in the second half.
Thank you.
Really good stuff from Gianna Gorley, not just with that interview, of course, but particularly with her play in the first half here in Brooklyn. And DC have a 1-0 lead with a big 45 minutes still to go. Brooklyn desperately need to turn all of it around if they are to stay in the hunt for a playoff berth in the USL Super League. We'll step aside for a moment. Plenty to come from around the Super League at the half, next on Peacock.
Success doesn't come easy. It takes grit, hustle, and relentless effort. Every step forward brings you closer to greatness. This is your moment. Elevate your game. El Jimador Spiked Bebidas.
What launches this ball and finds the winner. Oh, what a play!
It's a bending effort.
We all have goals. But let's be honest. Most of us aren't going to be professional athletes. But if your goal is to finish your degree, we can help. Come to a university that puts your goals first. Bellevue University, your partner in finishing goals.
Pain doesn't care who you are or why you hurt, but pain can be mastered if you know the way. Fight back with Tiger Balm's legendary herbal power. Trusted for over 100 years, our proven blend of camphor, menthol, and essential oils tames pain with the strength and speed of the tiger, so that you can rise above pain and get back to living. This is the way of the tiger.
The two most important days in your life are the day you are born and the day you find out why.
Yeah, trick. I said what I said. I don't care. I paint the town red.
If you can survive this, it's going to make the whole story that much better.
The bright horses are broken free from the fields.
Welcome back, everybody. Sean St. Jacques, Gary Bailey, our entire crew. It is Brooklyn 0, DC Power 1 at the half here on Peacock in the USL Super League. Really important, pivotal, dare I say, 45 minutes coming up for Brooklyn. But first and foremost, we look around the USL Super League. 3-2 now the score between Spokane and Tampa Bay Sun. That'd be a huge victory for Zephyr. But of course, every team is in action tonight. Gary, Fort Lauderdale against Carolina. Ascent can clinch a playoff spot with all 3 points.
They can, and even with less, if other results go their way, Dallas Trinity, you would think, would have no problem against Lexington. Lexington battling for that final spot at the bottom of the table with DC Power. But yeah, Tampa Bay Sun coming back. But all of it is no good. It doesn't help Brooklyn at all if they can't get something out of this match here tonight.
That's a good point. Not much of the stuff elsewhere on top of what's happening here helping out Brooklyn. Of course, the USL with the news and notes announcing a historic partnership with Gamebridge, which is set to become the entitlement partner for the newly named Gamebridge Super League beginning in the 2025-26 season. Really, really important stuff there. And then we mentioned this earlier, Lexington and DC eliminated from playoff contention. So they'll be trying to play spoilers throughout the rest of the regular season. And we were talking about this a little bit earlier, Gary. Ali Thornton on top of the Golden Boot race for Dallas.
Ali Thornton, lovely. Who's writing those scripts? But yeah, well done. And there's a couple of players around right behind her on 9 goals. So it's going to be a tight end to the season to see who gets the Golden Boot.
really, really tight race there. No questions about that. A lot of players still in and amongst it to find out who's going to get the golden boot. Of course, every Wednesday, you can listen to USL Super League Game Week, a deep dive into all things Super League with hosts Marion Crowder and Anna Whitty. Follow along all season on the Sirius XM app. Here they are teasing their new episode.
The USL Super League signs a new entitlement partner that will go into effect next season. We break down all the latest news.
Plus, we've got the playoff race, which is heating up so tightly, and we give you our pick for MVP and the games you should watch for Match Day 30.
I cannot wait to see what they talk about this week. Of course, the playoff race heating up. This game here has a big part in that. We'll have more to come before the second half begins next.
Yeah, right smack. I mean, it's like this. It's a filter. Yeah, come over here and take a look at this. Yeah, and the sun was shining in it. No, it's on the inside. All right. Walter says it's going to rain again. Yeah. Just get yourself all prepared. All right. It looks good. How about one? Watching the clock.
Welcome back, everybody. Sean St. Jacques, Gary Bailey here with you on Peacock. 1-0 DC Power here in the Big Apple with a big 45 minutes still to go, particularly for Brooklyn, battling in the playoff race. And we look at the first half highlights here between these two teams, desperately trying to get the win to end their long droughts without a victory. We pick it up in the 31st minute. Huge opportunity for Brooklyn.
Does so well here to win this ball, Casiano, and then Grabias, of all people, you think you're going to score the first, no, you'll score the second time, still no. Unbelievable, a player who is scoring a hat-trick when these teams met in November, just hits it straight at the keeper and then fluffs the second shot. Not the same player that we knew earlier in the season.
That was by far Brooklyn's best chance of the half, and then DC with an excellent team goal to open the scoring.
It's a lovely ball through, isn't it? And then Gawley just toe pokes it, gets there nice and early and finishes that one off. Fantastic bit of play, something that they threatened to do. They've been playing so neatly around the edge of the box, and this is the time that eventually it comes off. Lovely pass there from Emily Colton. Back of the net from Gianna Gawley.
Her 5th Super League goal of the season has DC on top. As we look at the halftime stats, and they would tell you that DC have been on top. They've outshot Brooklyn overall. They've outshot them in shots on target. And even the possession has been in DC's favor so far.
And that's a problem for Brooklyn. You're at home. You're the team who wants to get in the playoffs, and your stats are all one-sided to the team that's bottom of the table. Something's got to happen second half. I'm looking at the bench and Mackenzie Pluck and thinking, well, there's a good player you can bring on who's not been available recently. Got to do something, Kevin Tenyo, the caretaker coach, and let's find out what it is very soon.
We'll find out after the break. Second half's coming right up here in the Big Apple. DC for now on top by a 1-0. About to kick things off at the start of the second half here on Peacock. Sean St. Jacques, Ari Bailey, our entire crew. Pleasure to be with you on a beautiful Saturday night in the big city. 1-0 DC. Brooklyn did make a couple of changes at the start of the second half. Nakia Smith and Hope Breslin are out. Mackenzie Pluck and Tori Hansen have come on here at Maimonides Park in Brooklyn to try to change the tide. Brooklyn in dire need of a comeback in this second half if they are to stay in the heart of this playoff chase down the stretch. Again, not mathematically a must-win for Brooklyn, considering the slump that they've been in this spring season and other teams around them winning. Spokane just won over Tampa Bay by 3-2, and the other teams playing later could really give themselves some distance between themselves and Brooklyn. Fort Lauderdale in particular if they're able to beat Carolina later on, it just gives more and more pressure on Brooklyn to come back and get a victory here tonight. If they don't, they'll be firmly behind the 8 ball for their last 3 matches of the regular season. And Brooklyn are in all black, DC are in all light blue, and it's the DC power going from left to right here. Kurosaki trying to slide it through. It was cleared away by Brooklyn as she tried to find Emily Colton on the edge of the D. One thing that should be mentioned as well, because Tampa Bay lost, those other 2 Carolina back-end ways of getting into the playoffs, as this ball is crossed into the middle and caught by Purcell, do not apply. So Carolina has to win later on tonight against Fort Lauderdale if they are to clinch a playoff spot. They would have needed Tampa Bay to win or at least get a draw if they were to back their way in tonight. So now Carolina has to win, which means this result here no longer impacts the Carolina scenarios of clinching a playoff spot tonight. Now the Ascent have to win, and only a win will clinch a playoff spot for them tonight.
I'm impressed by Kevin Tenyo, the caretaker manager, the interim manager, for making these 2 changes. We said just before halftime, something needs to be done, and not just tactically on the pitch, but just for the morale of the team. When you bring reserves, or sorry, not reserves, bench players onto the pitch, it just livens up the team. It gives you some fresh energy. You know, the coach is being proactive, and certainly bringing Mackenzie Pluck on. What a good player she is, and she, I think, can have a massive impact on this match.
She's 4th in the league with 31 chances created this season. And, well, Brooklyn need as many chances as they can get in this second half. Far side here, Mackenzie George brings it forward and wins Brooklyn a throw-in on the far side.
That's another name we haven't heard enough of. Mackenzie George, going back to matches played September, October, November, should be bombing down that right side, getting in the box, squaring the ball, creating havoc. You see 4 goals and 4 assists that season. That's all come in the first half of the season. I haven't seen her get on this front foot much.
She does find Grabias here, who plays it across the face of goal. But no Brooklyn player was there to get a touch on it. It's a goal kick.
Wow, nice little half chance there. Gets away, Grabias, no one's marking her, and it was an option of Caroline Kelly in the center of the box, but almost goes for a half a shot rather than a pass. But that's better from Brooklyn. Get on the front foot, cause some problems.
Brooklyn wins the ball back again. Marciano nearly gave the ball away. Brooklyn has it again with Pluck, and she's dispossessed. Chance for DC to maraud up the other end with Colton. Colton cutting in field to get past Kroger and poking it out to the far side here. It's just out of the reach of the intended target, Kurosaki.
That's one thing DC Power have done really well. Their tackles, their turnover, winning back possession. They did it superbly first half, and we've just seen an example there twice where they've made very important tackles to win the ball back and counter-attack. And this certainly is a team that looks like it's improving under Phil Nana. Here we go again.
Both teams at times have struggled playing out of the back tonight. Gorley just about pokes it to keep it alive here for DC, and a sliding challenge from Hansen. DeWong. Harried by Garziano. DC still holding on to it here. Giyu. Colton let it run. Little layup from Kurosaki. Colton back into the middle, and to no one in particular. It's a goal kick.
I think she was trying to cross for Kurosaki. That was the aim, because Kurosaki had made the run into the box. But if that is the case, then totally overhit the cross.
Ball's helped along the far sideline. And it is touched out. It's a DC throw right around the halfway line. In for Constant. Gorley. Dispossessed. Scarpelli. On this near side for Kelly. Kelly, Herring, Wolfbauer. Aquino will clear. Hansen heads it forward. Brooklyn in dire need of a spark here. Can Pluck provide it? She plays it centrally for Kelly, who couldn't get her touch right. Now Colton for DC Power. Kroger does well. And it's a DC throw. And if the result holds, it'll be 11 games without a win for Brooklyn, going into the final 3 games of the season. Again, they go to Fort Lauderdale next, then Spokane here at Maimonides Park after that. Then they finish the season here in Brooklyn against Carolina Ascent.
If the result holds, it'll be Phil Nonna's first win on his 10th try as coach, and it could be well deserved because definitely you see an improved DC Power. We've talked about how defensively they've improved last 5 matches, but this showing here today so far has been excellent.
And they would jump into 7th position, and that's where Phil Nonna wants them to be as they try to get as many points as they can down the stretch of this regular season. They'd be 2 points ahead of bottom of the table Lexington, but both on the same number of games played. Joshua Encarnacion, I think, was saying that the whistle didn't go there, but now I'm starting to wonder if there's a bigger issue here.
Yeah, with the assistant ref coming across. Is there lightning in the area, perhaps?
I think we've just been told, yes, Gary, that there may have been some lightning in the area, and that is why the referee has brought this to a halt. Even on what started out as a beautiful night in Brooklyn, things can get cloudy in a hurry.
Well, you would know, you're from near that region, aren't you? You grew up there.
It's true.
You should have told us what the weather was going to do.
Either way, players leave field.
Well, the players are going to walk off for now in the 54th minute. And not just them, the rest of the staffs for both teams, which would tell you that we are now officially in a weather delay as the sun, yes, does try to poke its way through the clouds here in the big city.
That's a bit of a blow for DC Power. 1-0 up, looking good. Winning balls in midfield, seemingly dominating Brooklyn FC. And history will show you that when you get these breaks, it doesn't come back the way it finished. It's a chance to reset and come back with new ideas and fresh energy, and that would suit Brooklyn, you would think.
Oh, we said Brooklyn needed a spark. We didn't mean from Mother Nature. And unfortunately, that is going to have a step aside here for a weather delay. We'll have more info when we get it. It is 1-0 DC Power as we'll step aside for a weather delay here on Peacock.
Best 7 minutes.
Hey, Walter, you have to let me down. I won't turn on.
What?
Have you got a chance?
Okay. All right.
Take your time. All right.
Well, cover it good, you know. Ladies and gentlemen, due to inclement weather, the game is delayed for at least a half hour. Everything on the snow is back here. You have to get into the bag.
Welcome back, everyone, here on Peacock. It's the USL Super League, coming out of the first ever Super League weather delay in the club's history. Sean St. Jacques, Gary Bailey here with you, about to restart the second half. DC Power leading Brooklyn by 1 goal to 0. We're going to pick things up in the 53rd minute in this one, but not before we go back through the first half highlights for those just tuning in here on Peacock, a game that Brooklyn really need to have. And Gary, they did get a good chance back in the 31st minute.
They did. Lovely ball being played out wide here to Grabias. And she has a chance. Shot straight at the keeper. Second shot, whiffs on it completely. That was the best chance. One she would tuck away earlier in the season. Nice little set-up play from Jess Garziano.
Ended up being really the biggest chance Brooklyn have had so far in the game. But DC have had a multitude of opportunities. They capitalized on this one through Gianna Gorley, her 5th goal of the season.
Yeah, Emily Colton there just plays the ball through. A little toe poke from Gorley gets it past Nico Purcell. And they deserved it. They've been more creative around the edge of the box. They've had more opportunities. They have really been very impressive, have DC Power so far. We just wonder if the weather delay will change that momentum.
It's going to be a really big talking point the rest of the way. How does the break impact the outcome? A first ever weather delay in Super League history. Gianna Gorley, of course, was the star of the first half. And we are going to pick things back up in the 53rd minute. Her 5th goal of the Super League season has DC on top, hoping to end what has been a 9-game run without a victory. We mentioned it earlier for those that are just tuning in. Brooklyn in the midst of a 10-game run without a victory, and if they don't turn that around tonight, Brooklyn will be firmly on the outside looking in of the final playoff spots. One game is already final from the USL Super League earlier this evening. Big win for Spokane Zephyr, who've gotten hot at the right time in this Super League run-in. They beat Tampa Bay Sun by 3 goals to 2. And the other live game going on right now kicked off during the weather delay. Fort Lauderdale were 1-0 up in the early moments of the game, only for Carolina Ascent to come from behind with about 20 minutes to go in the half. Carolina Ascent are 2-1 up, and if that result holds, Carolina will be the first team to clinch a playoff spot in the USL Super League this season. Of course, because Tampa Bay lost, there's no back way for Carolina to get in, so they're going to have to win if they're going to clinch tonight. But our game, it's all about Brooklyn. DC knew last week that they were mathematically eliminated from the playoffs, and Brooklyn will make another change before we restart things in the second half. Dana Sheriff is on. Caroline Kelly is off. That's Brooklyn's 3rd change of the night after the 2 they made before the second half began. And particularly, Gary, it feels like the next 5 to 10 minutes for Brooklyn, down a goal, in need of a win, are going to be very, very pivotal.
Absolutely. It's worked in their favor there for Kevin Tenyo, the caretaker manager. This little break, it's a chance just to reset, to try and get the Brooklyn FC team on their sort of front and going for it. He's made another change with Dana Sheriff coming on, which I think is good. 2 at halftime. Another one now, which is another coach's way of just roughing things up and saying, come on guys, fresh blood, fresh ideas, let's have a go. But all the stats have been in favor of DC Power, who've put in a fantastic match. Expected goals up to this point, 0.38 for the home side, 1.11 for DC Power. They've had more crosses, more shots, more touches in the opposition box. They have dominated till this point, but Brooklyn can still turn it around and win this game and get the 3 points they so desperately need.
Nico Purcell is going to get the ball back into play as we pick things back up early in the start of the second half. 53rd minute, and we are back underway after the weather delay here in Brooklyn, New York. Maimonides Park here on Coney Island. Sean St. Jacques, Gary Bailey, our entire crew, thanks so much for sticking around with us here on Peacock. DC ahead, hoping to get their first win since November 23rd during the fall season. And for Brooklyn, they haven't won since the middle of December. 10 games without a victory, and in need of one desperately here tonight, or they'll be firmly behind the 8 ball in the Super League playoff chase. Brooklyn are in all black. They're going from right to left, and they slide that ball into the penalty area. Morgan Aquino has it for DC.
for me, the first thing Brooklyn have to do is to dominate the possession with the high press here. They've got to get extra energy. They've got to create opportunities. All the stats, as I mentioned, are in favor of DC Power, who are the away team sitting bottom of the table. So I've no doubt that Kevin Tenyo said to them, I need a massive, massive effort from everyone. We're going to go out there, run ourselves into the ground, close them down. Let's not make any errors. And let's put them under pressure and build opportunities for the likes of Luana Grabias to polish one in the back of the net. And Mackenzie George, who was so good earlier in the season. Let's give them a chance to find the back of the net.
Yeah, Grabias had the best chance. We showed it just a moment ago after we came back after the weather delay. That one-on-one chance with Aquino that went right at the goalkeeper. And she could not get the second attempt to go either. Since then, Brooklyn have really not created much, let alone a clear-cut chance. Always clipped up ahead. Alison Pantuso over the top. Looking for Jess Garziano, who's going to get on the end of this for Brooklyn and tries to cross it into the middle, but the ball just went out of play before she was able to make that cross. It's a goal kick.
Certainly for me, Jess Garziano is one of those players who, when she's in attack, such a clever player. She's the one who set up Grabias for that chance that you mentioned where she shoots at the keeper and then misses the follow-up. So you want to get her on the front foot. Mackenzie Pluck, we know how good a player she is. So there's certainly lots of quality going forward. Defensively, what Brooklyn need to do is to make sure they can allow those attacking players to go and do their thing, keep it tight in defense, and have a good high press, lots of energy from the likes of Grabias and Mackenzie George. If you can do all those things, and it's a big ask, of course, if you can, then they've got a good chance of getting back in this game to Brooklyn FC.
The ball's played down this near side for Colton. Emily Colton is going to play a first-time ball across. And it's knocked out for a DC throw, just to the left of the corner flag. Fitch back to Colton. And the challenge came in. I think the offside flag may have gone up. That's going to be a free kick for Brooklyn.
Scarpelli's one of those who needs to get forward as well. Got to do a good defensive job, start pushing up, because when you push up as a left full back, you push your left winger up, you start to dominate possession in the opponent's half. You can box them in now. This is where Dana Sheriff, fresh legs, can do some damage.
Kurosaki. Look at some of the stats, including expected goals. Through 30 minutes, Brooklyn actually had a 0 expected goals. It's creeped up a little bit higher, but DC again continued to be the more likely to add on. Gorley into the penalty area. He's bumped off it, and Brooklyn will clear it, but only as far as Fitch on the near side. Guiu has her pass picked off and followed up, but Brooklyn does clear it. Grabias gave it a look, but Aquino will watch it trickle out of play. Interested in catching Brooklyn FC in action live at Maimonides Park? Scan the QR code on the screen now for a chance to win 4 free tickets to Brooklyn's next home match. It's a big one, Saturday, May 10th against Spokane Zephyr. See you here on Coney Island. Starting to see some of the lights from some of the rides on Coney Island over the left-hand goal. Start to sparkle in the New York night.
I don't know if any of them have a ride that takes you from top of the table all the way down and out of the playoffs. That's exactly what's happened to Brooklyn. It's been one of the steepest drops we could imagine.
Briefly mentioned it earlier, but there's certainly been a few loop-de-loops in Brooklyn's season. No questions about that. Here's Gorley. Sliding it through was the right idea. Too far, though, in front of Kurosaki. Again, for those just tuning in, DC found out last week that they are eliminated officially from playoff contention, but We spoke with interim coach Phil Nana this week, and he's confident that his team is going to be able to finish the season strong. He said one of the goals, get ahead of Lexington and get into 7th position, and then just try to gain some momentum, feel good about themselves going into the end of the regular season. And so far, through nearly an hour, even with the break in between, DC have taken another step in the right direction so far.
They certainly have, as you mentioned earlier, defensively, last 5 matches only conceded 1 goal per game. A lot better from the 2s and 3s they were conceding. And now they managed to score as well, but it's a 90-minute plus added time game, and they haven't done the job yet. Still some ways to go for DC Power.
And Brooklyn had about half an hour to try to turn this around. Guiu was harried by Garziano. In the end, the shot is easily stopped by Purcell as it was going wide of the target to the left. George laying it down the line for Sheriff, who was taken out. Free kick. The assistant took a moment, and actually the yellow card is going to come out. Claire Constant booked.
It's a bit of a nudge in the ribs, isn't it, on the side of the body. Shoulder to shoulder is allowed, but not elbow into ribs, and that's why the yellow card's been issued to the captain.
Constant and Kurosaki are on yellow cards for DC. Leah Scarpelli is the only Brooklyn player on a yellow card as we approach the hour in the Big Apple. "30 minutes left. Brooklyn need to turn this around as soon as possible." It's clipped into the near side of the penalty area. Was punched out after a collision, and a possible head injury is going to stop the play. Joshua Encarnacion, referee, right on it, and the DC medical staff's going to have to come out and take a look.
Yeah, Aquino came out very strong there, got the punch, but took out her own player in the process. That's brave defending, and you can just see afterwards there, Susanna Fitch just gets caught by that punch of Aquino's, and that's a big concern when you get hit that hard. The rest of the players are probably taking the moment just to go and get some advice from the coach. But from the neck injuries, as a medic, you can't take any risk. You've got to make 100% sure that there's no broken neck bones or whatever. So, but she's getting up, which is fantastic news to see.
Especially with how quickly Fitch got back up as well. That tends to be a positive sign. But again, still more to do as far as whether or not Fitch can continue, of course.
It was a good ball in, because one of those, it tempted Fitch as a defender to go for it. The goalkeeper, Aquino, has to come out. The forwards were getting in there. Everybody was in the mix, and it's that, talk about the corridor of uncertainty where you're not sure if it's keeper's ball or defender, so you all go for it. In the end, there's collisions and all sorts, but Aquino got her fist to the ball, and that was what was crucial from a footballing point of view. Unfortunately for Fitch, she took a fist in the side of her head once that ball was punched clear.
I wouldn't be surprised, Gary, if you've been there a time or two. Even if your own teammate's in the way, you got to get to the ball, right?
You have to, and your teammates will tell you, go through them, you do whatever you have to. And if you don't get the ball, you still go through as many as you can, just to scare them off the next time. Those are the moments where the goalkeeper's in the powerful position, the one where you're not, when you come sliding at feet, and you can get studs in the face and all that. So there's times when it's good to be a keeper, and there's also times when it's not so great.
Well, and the good news as well is Fitch is ready to come back on for DC. Just needs the wave from a referee. Fitch is making her 23rd consecutive start tonight. She's been a mainstay in the DC setup, and she's right back after it here on this near side, although Brooklyn will get the throw. Scarpelli. Just in front of Phil Nana in the DC technical area. It is the visitors who get the ball back for a moment. Scarpelli, who has to be careful in those 1v1 moments, does give up the foul. Still sitting on that yellow card.
That's something Joshua and Conassion, the referee, would have noted. And referees will add up, and 2, 3, 4 of those tackles, never with one of them being bad, but just accumulation will get you a second yellow card if you're not careful.
Colton, that was a nice move to drive into space. And Kurosaki dispossessed. Kroger did really well to clean things up for Brooklyn there. Purcell will set it up field onto the far side. And a ricochet. We'll give it back to DC on the far side. Stay up to date with the USL Super League. Sign up for the Super newsletter. Get news about your favorite team and stories from around the league delivered to your inbox weekly. Sign up at uslsuperleague.com/newsletter. If there's any time of the season to sign up for that, it is now. We're getting to the run-in of this inaugural Super League season, and games like this one are going to make a gigantic impact on who makes it and who doesn't when it comes to the playoffs. Ooh, that pass back nearly came up short. Purcell was there for Brooklyn and needed to be. Guillou wins it back for DC. Slithered through for Gorley, who poked it towards goal, but it bounces wide and out of play.
That's what they've been so good at in this match, winning those balls in the midfield, turnover, and getting it forward quickly to Jana Gorley. Now 5 goals this season, or this year. That's rather this season. That puts her, what, in 9th position overall in the goal-scoring charts.
Early ball looking for Gravias. It never got there. Too close to Morgan Aquino, who quickly outlets. And the ball was, well, nearly played all the way through for Gorley, but it was easily cut out by Brooklyn's captain, Kelsey Hill. Purcell clears with 25 minutes plus stoppage time left, and Brooklyn in dire need of not just one, they really need 2 goals. And they need to come back and win this. As we mentioned earlier, if it holds, Phil Nana will get his first win in charge, and DC will finally end this 9-game run without a victory in the Super League. Gorley looping it over the top, cleared away by Hansen. And then a loose pass, sees it won back by Colton.
There's problems there for Katrina Guillou. She's been struggling for a minute, and she's just put her hand up to come off. That's not good news for DC Power.
It is out for a throw-in, and Phil Nana has not made any changes yet. You wonder if that might be the precursor to at least one. Guillou is still down at the moment. Well, speaking of subs, Brooklyn are getting set to make a change as well. Salma Amani is being prepared.
It doesn't surprise me because they're just not getting on that front foot enough, Brooklyn. And they've tried all these subs. They've got to just keep on trying, mixing it up, just seeing if they can find that spark. Let's see if Salma Amani can bring it.
This is Brooklyn's penultimate change. Garziano is out. Amani is on. Should mention as well, that leaves Brooklyn with no more attacking players left on their bench either. Sasha Pickard and Ginger Fontenot are more of defenders, and Alexa Goldberg is a backup goalkeeper. That's it for Brooklyn on the bench. That sort of tells you as well that the team that's on the field right now for Brooklyn is the one that's going to have to get this done. Try to come back from a goal down in their hour of need. Ball was sent upfield by Pluck, cut out. Amani tried to get the ball back, but it's really cleverly done by DC on the far side. Anna Bagley did well initially, but Brooklyn are back in possession. Pantuso nearly lost it. Hansen sends it upfield. It was headed towards the edge of the penalty area by Sheriff. Easy enough for Aquino. Guiu is still off the field, so DC are down to 10 at the moment, but we're told that Phil Nana is getting ready a change to bring on an 11th player here. This is played across the face of goal by Pluck. But there was no opportunity, or at least a lack of a chance, to put that on target. And DC clear it. And then Scarpelli forced to settle for a throw-in before the substitution. Grace Yango is getting set to come on, and that is going to be it for Guiu officially here. That's DC's first change of the night. Scarpelli to the edge of the penalty area. A lot of blue shirts marauding around as Sheriff just tried to keep it alive somehow. Eventually was dispossessed. Gorley. Little give and go attempt that's cut out. Scarpelli. Rabias brought down by Wolfbauer. Free kick.
A little warning from the referee. Having a discussion about whether there's been any previous infringements, I assume. But this is where Brooklyn is the home side, 1-0 down. We've spoken at length about how they must win. You've got 20 minutes left. This is where you really start piling on the pressure. Get a good ball right in the box. Get it into the mix.
Kroger's ball in. Headed back towards Kroger. And it's headed into the penalty area towards Amani. And Amani got a touch onto it, but it's the touch that takes it out for a goal kick with 20 minutes of normal time left. I'll stay informed on all things Super League. Visit USLSuperLeague.com for all the latest information, analysis, and insight into the league during the chase to the postseason. Headed, or I should say kicked forward by Hansen. Rabias, not once but twice, trying to get something on it, ends up giving it away. But it's a good step defensively in the end by Hill to get Brooklyn back on it. Played forward by Pantuso, but too far in front of Mackenzie George, and the attack fizzles out.
This is when Brooklyn have to high press. Got to get numbers in here. Got to take a risk. Maybe leave 3 against 2 at the back. You might get caught in transition, but you have to start pushing forward. You've got to get these 2 goals, and you might have to take some risks to do it.
Now DC looking to bring it forward. There was a shirt tug in there. Referee rightly waves advantage. Fitch moves it forward for the power. Fitch backtracks, I should say, onto this near side. Wolfbauer keeps the ball in play, but cannot pick out a teammate. It's a giveaway. She tried to thread the needle for Duong. Gravias wins the challenge, but gives up the throw and keeps DC on the front foot.
There was a bit of a nudge in her back, but it wasn't deemed to be a foul. So very difficult when you're trying to chest the ball and then someone pushes you in the back, and that's what happened there with Gravias. But well played DC Power. They're controlling this match the way they want to. And Brooklyn still need to do something special to turn this around.
Colton. Ooh, tried to lay it off for Bagley. Was cut out. Another nearly strong chance there for DC. If they could get a second, they would be in absolute dreamland here in New York. Scarpelli. Battle for it in the midfield. Amani helped out, but Yango gets the ball back off a Sheriff loose touch. Kurosaki for Colton. Near side Fitch. Fitch cutting in field, didn't like the options, plays it back. And there's time and space for Kurosaki here. Kurosaki tries to thread the needle into the penalty area, cut out. Yango follows up, but the header bounces in for Purcell. 17 minutes plus stoppage time left for Brooklyn. Salma Amani trying to tiptoe the far sideline, couldn't keep it in. And before DC get the ball back in, they're going to make their second change. Charlie Escort is going to come on. And one of the players that was on a yellow card for Phil Nana, Yuka Kurosaki, is going to exit here. So just Claire Constant on the yellow now for DC, although Kurosaki did have a very, very strong performance, among many, for DC in this match tonight.
It's been an impressive job what Phil Nana has done, and when we chatted to him this week, he talked about the way the players understanding each better, themselves and each other better, how they move, where they find the spaces, how they overload certain areas. And you can see it in the play. They're a hard team to beat now. There's none of those 2s and 3 goals that they were conceding. I better not say that in case they go and concede 2 now, then he'll blame me. But they really have, up until now anyway, they've looked like a really decent side that's going to be extremely hard to beat.
Mackenzie George, with 2 players on her, crosses it and does win a corner for Brooklyn on the far side.
She was so dangerous earlier in the season, Mackenzie George. With her pace down the wings, balls being slipped in. I've really seen her being given a decent ball to run onto in this match.
Kroger to deliver. Towards Amani, couldn't control it. And it's a foot race to this near side. The ball is going to trickle out of play. As Sheriff could not keep it in. It's another missed opportunity for Brooklyn, with now just 15 minutes left to try to get those 2 goals. And Sheriff puts the pressure on, back out for a DC throw. More Sheriff and Scarpelli pressure. It ricochets out for a goal kick. Again, for those interested in catching Brooklyn FC live in action here at Maimonides Park, scan the QR code on the screen now for a chance to win 4 free tickets to Brooklyn's next home match for Spokane Zephyr SC on Saturday, May 10th. See you here on Coney Island. Again, Sean St. Jacques, Gary Bailey here with you. DC leading by a 0-0. The goal came in the first half through Gianna Gorley, her 5th of the season. Then we had that weather delay early in the second half. So again, a big hearty thanks for those that have stuck with us here. But it's Brooklyn in desperate need of a win here tonight. If they don't get it, they are firmly behind the 8 ball for their final 3 regular season games and would need help elsewhere, along with 3 wins most likely, if they are going to make it into the playoffs. If they can turn this around, it would totally change the trajectory moving forward. But that's a big if with 13 minutes left. Pantuso for Amani, who couldn't control it. Kroger recycles the attack, back for Pantuso. Gets space for the cross into the middle. It's over Sheriff's head and cushioned down. Reset here for Tori Hansen. Looking for Amani in the penalty area. You've got to head down for it. Sheriff couldn't corral it. DC again will try to clear, but Kroger wins it back for Brooklyn on the far side. George back for Kroger, who couldn't find Salma Amani. And then it's a poor touch. Gorley nearly got in behind for DC up the other end, but it ricochets for Hansen. And Hansen's forced to go back to the goalkeeper.
Well, it's interesting. Some of the best chances for Brooklyn coming from just a big ball into the box. And much as we all love to play the pretty football, sometimes the best option is just to get it in the danger area. Unfortunately, that one a little bit too long there. But for Mackenzie George, but sometimes get it in the mix, get the knockdown. You might not win the first one, but if they don't clear it, you can pick up the loose ball on the edge of the box. So More and more these days you hear coaches say, yes, we want to play good, you know, Pep Guardiola type football, knock it around and everything, but we also recognize the moment to go direct when we need to. Now for me is the moment for Brooklyn to go direct. Balls into the box, put the pressure on, see if you can get something from the knockdown.
Brooklyn win the ball back, and then as it was touched away towards Fitch, there was a foul against DC, so it's going to be a Brooklyn free kick just inside the DC half. About middle of the DC half, and Pluck will stand over it. Brooklyn's best chance creator this season. Referee says, on my whistle, please. Only gets everything situated. Joshua Encarnacion. Pluck. Right to the middle of the penalty area, headed to the outskirts. Amani trying to tiptoe past a couple of challenges, wins Brooklyn a throw-in.
That's exactly to my point. Get in the mixer, see what drops, and try and get shots on goals. That's better from Brooklyn.
Pluck, again, just tries to serve it into the penalty area. It's a miscued clearance. Amani tries to get back onto it. Pressuring Fitch. Sends a high arcer onto this near sideline. It's out of play for a throw-in for Hansen to take. Flicked on by Scarpelli. And Wolfbauer will watch it run out of play.
Now for Brooklyn, keep all the numbers up. You've got to have a big high press here. 5, 6 players you need. Try and get turnover ball in this area very close to the DC power goal. And to counter that, Aquino says, no, I'm going to go over the top of you all and get it over the halfway line.
Brooklyn win the initial header, and then it's nudged down by Sheriff. Constant steps in, but concedes a throw. Brooklyn are going to make their last change of the night. Scarpelli, who was on a yellow card, is going to be brought out. Ginger Fontenot will take her place. And Brooklyn are now out of substitutions. Last roll of the dice. George, who switches to this near side. Fighting off 2 defenders, keeps it going for Pluck. Pluck's ball into the middle is dangerous, but no one in a black shirt could get anything on it. Touched outside of the penalty area. Now Gorley, trying to find someone to pass it to. Does keep DC in possession now. Fitch. And it's cleared by Wolfbauer for Colton. Fitch now assessing the scene here. Gorley for Yango, who has to give chase here. It's actually going to be a giveaway in the end. Fontenot. Amani gets it back to Fontenot on the far side. Her legs are fresh, and she's going to get into the penalty area. Here comes the cross, but it's caught by Aquino, who was fouled inside the 6. And a little bit of afters between Gravias and Wolfbauer.
Yeah, Gravias caught the goalkeeper. She was going for the ball. She wasn't intending, but she did catch the keeper, and that's what the defense is saying. If you miss the ball and take out the keeper, then it's a yellow card. Referee didn't seem to be going for his pocket at that moment. But so much better from Brooklyn. The last 5 to maybe 10 minutes, getting balls into danger area, getting down the line, really making an effort that you sort of go back in time and think, well, could they not have turned this on earlier? And I guess to do this, of having to take risks at the back, maybe they felt they didn't want to take those risks until towards the end. But it's a much, much more exciting, positive Brooklyn side going forward now.
Eight minutes plus stoppage time left. Despite the positive turnaround a bit here for Brooklyn, they still need those 2 goals. Here comes Fitch for DC. Look to land a knockout blow. Fitch's ball into the middle. It's going to roll past everybody. And Persol is able to get there before it rolls out of play.
Fitch's ball to Charlie Escort there was not far away. She's chipped it in maybe a yard ahead of Charlie Escort from Fitch. But the idea was really good, and that's always the danger for Brooklyn. You get caught on the counter-attack because you're almost playing man-for-man at the back now, pushing numbers forward.
It's going to fall for a chance here. Gravias follows up. Tries to equalize for Brooklyn. Shot is blocked. Played out to the far side. Fontenot, who skies it over the top. But Brooklyn are looking more and more likely.
BS was frustrated with herself because there was an overlapping run there that was coming in from Ginger Fontenot. And instead of just slipping her in, she tried the shot and got it blocked. Ginger Fontenot's pace on that right-hand side is causing DC Power a few problems.
It could be on for a thriller of a finish here if it stays at this pace. DC trying to hold on for their first win since November. But Brooklyn have to win, or they could be in dire straits over the last few games. Amani. Dispossessed in the end. Yango just moving it forward. Amani actually came back. A little shirt pull there. I don't think the referee saw that. DC still have it. All the way back to Aquino under some Brooklyn pressure. Played a dangerous pass. Brooklyn do win the ball back. Kroger for Amani. Kroger will reset all the way back to Pantuso. And then Fontenot tried to return the favor. Cleared out for a Brooklyn throw. And then a second ball rolled out onto the pitch as the throw-in was taken. Fontenot. And Gorley tried to follow up. Pantuso has it for Brooklyn. 5 minutes plus stoppage time left. Amani for George. And maybe a chance here for Hansen to move this forward, and then it's a miscued touch by Amani. Yango's pass nearly came up short. Duong was there. And DC just about have it where they want it. Fitch moving it across the halfway line. Gorley, who at the moment is DC's hero. Goal back in the 37th minute may just be enough for all 3 DC power points. Pantuso for Kroger, who keeps it alive for Pluck. Pluck tried to slither it through for Gravias. It never got all the way there.
The control of the ball by DC Power. They've been calm under all sorts of pressure. They continue to knock it about. They really have looked capable throughout this match. There's never been a moment where you thought they've really been in trouble. Maybe 5 minutes ago there was a few balls bouncing around, but even there they were able to play their way out. It's been an impressive performance, which had they have got this going sort of a couple of months back, they might still have made the playoffs. That's how well they're playing.
All coming together there. It's brought back. DC will reset back to constant. 3 minutes now, plus stoppage time remaining. Hansen's header falls for Fitch. Colton lays it off for Duong. And on the edge of the penalty area, Gorley. Colton couldn't get the touch right. And it's cleared upfield by Kelsey Hill. Gravias trying to get there, but Wolfbauer beats her to the spot. Duong. Fitch. Trying to link up with Colton, unsuccessfully. It's a goal kick for Brooklyn, who are running short on time.
And again, credit DC Power. They're not sitting back trying to sort of low block and just defend. They're coming forward. Look at the numbers there. 6 blue shirts trying to get turnover ball, which is exactly what they do.
Duong from Yango. DeWong trying to make up her mind here, slides it through. Gorley's hold-up play is good. Fitch on the near side. It's played further down the line for Colton, who is in an offside position. Free kick.
They've put in a shift, these DC Power players. It's the way they support each other, the way they get numbers around the ball, all takes a lot of effort. And they've expended that, but again, look at the blue shirts. They're 1-0 up with just a couple of minutes left, and they're still pushing numbers forward and trying to use the high press. And they drop back, and they do a really good work getting the ball back, which is what they've done again.
George runs onto it. Maybe thought she was going to be in an offside position. Certainly the DC Power players thought that she was. Flag never went up. Ball's back in play. Brooklyn in possession. George. George now with two players on her. Crosses it into the middle. It's easily cut out and cleared away. Purcell comes off of her line here to try to get Brooklyn quickly back into possession. It has to happen very, very quickly for Brooklyn now. Pluck's header comes up short. Amani and Kroger try to win it back, but Yango has it for DC Power. Yango up ahead for Gorley. It was, Gorley flipped over the advertising boards there. Looks like she's okay. It's a Brooklyn throw. More evidence that DC Power are giving everything they have to try to end this winless run in the Super League. It would be just their 4th win of the season if they can hold on. George gives chase. It's going to be shepherded out for a goal kick as we are into second half stoppage time. And meanwhile, there is going to be a substitution here for DC Power. Madison Wolfbauer is going to make way, and Myra Conte is going to enter. And right after the 4th official put up the sub, he confirms for us that there is going to be 4 added minutes left. Again, we said this earlier, it's not a mathematical must-win for Brooklyn, but it might as well be, considering how results have gone elsewhere. Other teams have games in hand on Brooklyn, who after tonight only have 3 regular season games remaining. It's getting towards the point where Brooklyn may have to win every single one of them to have a chance.
And that won't be easy. Fort Lauderdale United away. Spokane Zephyr at home, and we've seen what good form they're in. And the team that's top, Carolina Ascent at home. So if they can't beat DC Power, with all due respect, sitting bottom of the table, are they going to beat all those 3? Maybe. It is possible, but they've made it very, very difficult. But take nothing away from DC Power. When I look at them, I don't see a team at the bottom of the table. I see a team that, had this started a few months back, could very easily be in the playoffs. They've been excellent. Their work in getting turnover ball and getting ball back in possession has been brilliant, and they've given very, very little opportunity. Here they go, turnover ball again. They've done it time and time again. Yes, criticize Brooklyn for some wayward passes, but it's the pressure from DC Power that's caused those turnovers.
Speaking of Carolina Ascent, by the way, they're leading 3-1 at Fort Lauderdale as we speak. So if that holds, Carolina will be the first team to clinch a playoff spot in the USL Super League. Our final game of the night just kicked off as well. Getting close to halftime now, actually. Dallas 1, Lexington 0 as well, as the Trinity trying to keep Carolina Ascent honest at the top of the table. Amani striding into the penalty area for Brooklyn. And then she made a little nudge in the back. It's a free kick for DC Power. Brooklyn incensed, saying it was the shoulder, but the referee didn't see it that way.
Yeah, some arguments coming in there from a very frustrated Salma Amani, and the referee was just debating whether to pull his card out. She's saying it's shoulder to shoulder. The referee disagrees. So it's more about frustration. If they were 2-1 up, she wouldn't be as concerned, but just nothing has happened for them going forward. They've given the ball away so often, as I was mentioning. It just hasn't been a good day for Brooklyn on a day when they had to do something really special.
Getting into the final seconds of the scheduled 4 added on. Grabias, little reverse ball, but again, DC are there. They have it covered. Near side Colton. Gorley, as DC are going to get well acquainted with the near side corner flag. Escort helps out. And then Escort kicks the ball out of play. It's a goal kick, but DC have left Brooklyn with only 15 seconds and maybe a little bit more after that. Ball's played up ahead for Pluck, who tried to head it on. Grabias follows up, but Fitch has it covered. Clearance comes up short. Brooklyn trying to move it back. That's a critical challenge from Constant, and DC can move it forward. Played for Escort down the far side. DC nearly over the line here. Purcell sends the ball up ahead. Headed back into this Brooklyn half of the field. Amani. It's up to the referee how much more time we're going to play. Ball's played towards the edge of the penalty area. Nearly snuck all the way through. Constant had her head on a swivel at the vital moment. Grabias from the throw. Curls it into the penalty area just over the head of Fontenot, and that may very well be that. And in fact, that is that. Full time in Brooklyn. For the first time since November, the DC Power are winners in the USL Super League. It's a well-earned victory for Phil Nana and his group. They come to the Big Apple and they beat Brooklyn by 1-0. And for Brooklyn, it's now an 11th game in a row without a win, and they are firmly behind the 8 ball in the USL Super League playoff chase, but take nothing away from DC Power. It's their 4th win of the season, and they finally get that second half monkey off their back.
It's their 4th win and probably their best because they played superbly well. This wasn't a lucky win. The stats are all in their favor. Shots on goals, expected goals, everything they needed to do. They controlled it at the end. They didn't allow Brooklyn to get at them too much. It was a fantastic performance all around. And for Brooklyn, I'm afraid, once again, just not good enough. They just can't find that early season mojo.
We are joined by a very happy interim head coach, Phil Nana, for DC Power. Coach, thank you so much for taking some time. I know you, the players, and the staff have waited a very long time to get this victory. How does it feel to get it over the line?
It's about time. It's about time. We're really excited. We got this win on the road. For us, it's just a matter of, you know, the togetherness, the hard work that we've put in. It's good to see it pay off and result in some points.
And Phil, just looking at the stats, your team dominated in every essence of this game. You controlled it every which way. You must be super happy. This wasn't just a lucky win. This was a well-deserved win.
Yeah, I thought the players played very well. I thought this was a 90-minute performance. You know, with the lightning and the break, it was. We had to get back into it. But when I look at the players, we look at our staff. We stuck to our principles. We stuck to our values, and we came out on top today. Very happy.
Coach, thanks so much for your time. Congratulations again, and enjoy it.
Yeah, thank you all. Bye.
Big congratulations to Phil Nana and DC Power on a job well done tonight. Sean St. Jacques, Gary Bailey here with you, wrapping things up. We go through the full-time highlights. And, well, before we had that weather delay, this was the best chance Brooklyn had in the first half, Gary. Grabias.
Grabias has the shot at the keeper, comes back, misses it. It was a lovely setup from Garziano. And those are the sort of chances they were tucking away earlier in the season. Maybe it's a lack of confidence, maybe it's the pressure of the bad run, but just not quite good enough up front when the opportunities did come. And to be fair, DC Power didn't give away too many opportunities.
The winner from a very likely source for DC, Gianna Gorley.
Yeah, good finish. Lovely little ball played in by Emily Colton, but it's a little topo. Got there nice and early, stretch for it. She's their top goal scorer. Got 5 goals, and she's the big threat. Made the Super League Team of the Month for March, and I'm suggesting maybe she should make it for April as well.
And Phil Nana talked to us about it. There was that weather delay in the middle of all that at the start of the second half. We could argue, Gary, his team came back out and they were still the better side, despite that weather delay that took about an hour.
Yeah, they were better in every sense. Look, 13 corners to 3, for example. Expected goals, 0.38 for the home side, 1.2 for DC Power. They controlled the game. They really didn't give Brooklyn much chance on their home pitch. And that's a performance which is as good as I've seen from DC Power. So they can be very happy with a great day's work. For Brooklyn, well, you best go and win your final 3 games. And you've got to find a way to do it.
And again, other teams around them have games in hand. It's going to be very difficult for Brooklyn down the stretch. But it's about DC Power in the big city tonight. Phil Nana's group, thanks to Gianna Gorley, win their first game since November 23rd. And they're off the bottom of the USL Super League table. For Gary Bailey and our entire crew, I'm Sean St. Jacques. We say so long from Brooklyn. DC Power wins it by 1-0 thanks to Gianna Gorley.